welcome to Connect Church Community Online. Good to be with you. I'm Scott Wright, and it's always a blessing to be able to share with you. Today we're going to be in Hebrews 11:13. You ever called someone, maybe trying to get something important done, and they put you on hold, and you wait, and you wait, and you wait? I'm going to tell you, man, I don't know about you, but man, waiting is like, it's hard when you're sitting there waiting on somebody to get back with you, getting a doctor's appointment, things such as that. And I got to thinking, sometimes our life goes into what's kind of like a holding pattern, if it were. Kind of like when the airplanes, they can't land, and so they just put them in a holding pattern, waiting till things can come in here. I went across some notes from Lance Witt, and he was describing some of this, and he said we're not at the takeoff in our life, but we've already took off, okay? And there's lots of different little things that we've done along our journey and stuff. He said, but we're not at the landing yet. And a lot of times before we get to the landing, while we're on hold or we're sitting there waiting and thinking, at this point in my life, I thought, I'd have a wife and kids, or a husband and a big family, or a job that paid, a lot of times we get to thinking about those things, but it's the same thing even in our Christian life sometimes. But in Hebrews 11:13, I want to notice, it says, these all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, and they were persuaded of them. And so this first point I want to bring out here with this devotion is that, we focus a lot of time on the honor and the trophies. Man, it's like, so-and-so got MVP, and so-and-so, was the best player or the best singer or whatever it is, or maybe got the raise or the promotion at the job. And when we think about Hebrews even in our Christian walk, we think about faith, and faith, man, it's like, with faith we can move mountains. I mean, we can do anything when we're talking about faith. And so when we're sitting here and we're thinking about it, there's a lot of things, we're not going to see while we're here down on this earth, or not everyone anyway, when we get to seeing this. And so when we sit here and we start thinking that we are, looking in here, it says he was persuaded. They see them from afar off. They didn't receive their promises. They were persuaded of them, and it says, and embraced them, and confessed that they were just strangers and pilgrims on this earth. That's what we are. We're strangers and pilgrims. And sometimes we expect everybody to give us accolades and trophies and things such as that. But you know what? That's not for everybody. I mean, it doesn't mean you're not faithful. And it's like we live in a culture where lots of times people think, well, you haven't been successful, then, well, God's not with you. Let me tell you, God blesses us without just titles or jobs or raises for being faithful. Our measuring of success makes us unsuccessful in our culture, because there can only be one at the top. There can only be one winner. Everybody else is second, third, or even a no-show to finish up. You see these shows, America's Got Talent, or you see the drafts where all these people go into professional sports, and some people get left out, But then there's that one, and then we build it up, man, it's the greatest thing in the world for that person. But think of all the ones who didn't make it. And you think junior high and high school people think, man, I'm going to be a professional athlete. But, there's more people just go into life being a good mom or a good dad, a good Christian, as it were, and sitting here trying to do this devotion with it. It's the stuff that dreams are made of, when it's like that person who has worked hard and it's paid off. We love it when an underdog becomes top dog. We like that. And so, and I think sometimes if we focus so much on the trophies and so much on the honor, and as in Jesus' day, the Pharisees love to be called Rabbi, Father. They love for people to pat them on our back. And in our culture, We have a lot of that. You know, we have like a men's club, even in ministry sometimes, and it's just like we're just patting each other on the back, but you know, we really haven't accomplished that much. But at the same time, there's people who maybe not be pastoring a church that's running, you know, 300 or 400 or whatever, but the fact is they're being faithful and they're working, and so, but they'll get their reward. When somebody makes it big, it's almost, it makes for what TV is. It makes for what a great book is. And it's like where a no one becomes someone. Maybe sometimes because we picture ourselves doing that, standing up there on the stage, receiving that award, or getting that bonus, or signing that $1 million contract. When Hebrews 11, that's what we're going to focus on with this devotion today, is it talks about people who saw the miraculous lives and things that Jesus was doing. They had witnessed God's amazing power. They had seen the early church. They had seen people get saved. They had seen people do great things. And in Hebrews 11, man, it says, by faith, and we're going to talk about some of them in just a minute. But in Hebrews, these great men and women of faith, they conquered kingdoms, they shut the mouths of the lion, they quenched the fury of flames, they were powerful in battle, they routed foreign enemies and armies, and they even raised the dead. And, you know, and it's like, man, they did great things. And as we look at that, man, you could check it off. Man, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. And then in verse 4, it starts off in Hebrews 11, by faith Abel offered unto God a more excellent sacrifice. By faith Enoch was translated that he should not see death. But without faith it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. But let me tell you, sometimes that reward is not in this world. There are faithful people who have suffered and done without, and without accolades, without people patting them on the back, and they've done it and they've been faithful. It goes on, and we won't get into all of it. It says, by faith Noah, by faith Abraham. It goes on, and it says, by faith Isaac and Jacob and Joseph, by faith Moses. And it is seen in the verse 26 here, it says, esteeming the reproach of Christ greater riches than the treasures in Egypt, when he's talking about Moses here, for he had respect unto the recompense of the reward. He did what was right, but you know what? He's 80 years old before you start seeing that. Then you have 40 years here, and then 40 years another curveball. And you see, and so let me remind you, we're not at the end yet. Okay, there are some ups and downs. There's going to be some things that's going to knock us off. But when we're talking about these people, look in verse 33, and it says, who through faith, these great people, subdued kingdoms, wrought righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouth of lions, quenched the violence of fire, escaped the edge of the sword, out of weakness were made strong, waxed valiant in fight, turned to flight the armies. Man, can you imagine just thinking of that? What if you didn't wax valiant in the fight? What if you was running with your tail through your leg? It was a terrible thing. What if your weakness just became more weakness, but you had the faith, but yet the battle was too much on you? They escaped the edge of the sword. How about the ones who didn't escape the edge of the sword? I mean, we could go on, and I'm not going to right now because we'll talk about it at another time. But right now, I just want you to think about for a minute that in Hebrews 11:13, it's not talking about those that got trophies and those that are written in the Bible and those that have their own books and those that have songs written about them and all those things. It says these all died in faith. They had the faith, but they did not receive the promises. But having seen them afar off, they were persuaded of them. They embraced them, and they confessed that, hey, if I don't get it down here, I know the Lord's going to be with me. And God's going to take care of me. He's going to take care of you. And we'll talk about it more over the next couple devotions with these. But let me ask you a question. Are you willing to serve God and not get a pat on the back? Not be famous or promoted or put on a board. Let me tell you, most people won't. See, they want that pat on the back. They want to go up to the chief table, as it were. They want that notoriety. They want people to pat them on the back. They want people. But let me tell you something. The Christian life is about living by faith and doing what's right, whether somebody's going to give us a bonus, a raise, or whatever, whether we're going to have a church with 10,000 or a church that we're faithful with 4 or 5 people. God's going to take care of us. And that's what I want you to see here as we look into Connect Church Community Online today. I don't want you to give up, because we're not at the end. We may be in a holding pattern, but God has a good landing for you. Don't give up. And when that thing lands, it's going to land in heaven, if not here on this earth. God bless you, and thank you for listening today.